Welcome to my tack room. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about donkey saddles and fit. I get so many questions every month about, from my Facebook page, email, Instagram. What kind of saddle do you use on your donkeys? Or what kind of saddle can I buy that will fit my donkey? This is not an easy answer, and I don't have just a straightforward answer for you. Fitting a donkey's back is difficult, but not impossible, because I've definitely got saddles for each of my donkeys, my riding donkeys, and I have 3 now that fit. But something I wanted to talk about today is not just the saddles they use and that fits each individual one, but also that when you're going into buying a saddle, I just want to warn people about spending a ton of money on that saddle, because your donkey's back may change, especially if you've got a younger donkey or you have a donkey that's maybe a little under conditioned, and as you're riding through the years, that donkey will put on muscle and his body's going to change, or her body's going to change. I got rescued Traveler from a pretty crap situation. He was very undernourished. According to my vet, when she yelled at him, it looked like he had been undernourished for most of his life. So he had a very fine, thin build for a donkey that was as tall as him. He had a build more like a large standard donkey than he did a mammoth donkey, which, at 14.1, he should have been a much thicker donkey. And when I got him, his estimated age was 7. So that would make him around 10, 11 years old now. And through the years of good nutrition, fairly consistent work, and with just me setting up my pastures, my woods, the way they get water, the way they get to eat, all the walking they have to do, even after 7 years old, his body has changed. Now, Traveler was never narrow enough to ride in the McClellan like Jasper does. I tried him in different McClellans. Maybe when I first started working with him, it fit him okay. But as he put on weight, it definitely stopped working as well. And he ended up riding in this little no-name Pasofino saddle. So a lot of you know that I do like the McClellan saddles for Jasper and for the large standard donkeys. The McClellans don't always fit well on the mammoth donkeys and the bigger donkeys. The other nice thing about the McClellans is they are feather light. They are super, super light. And a lot of times on the large standards, some of us are at the high end of what the donkey can carry. We have to take into consideration the weight of our saddle. If we're putting a big 25-pound saddle on our donkeys, we have to count that. The McClellan is super lightweight. So that's super nice for your average large standard donkey that has a very narrow back. This no-name Pasofino saddle has been a good saddle for Traveler up until this year. This year, I started noticing that how I sit on him, and especially because I'm watching my husband ride him, how my husband sits in a saddle. My husband sits a little forward, and that was really putting a lot of pressure on his shoulders with the way this saddle is made, and because Traveler has really filled out over the last 3-4 years. So 4 years. Yeah, I've had Traveler 4 years. My goodness, time flies. So this saddle does not work for Traveler anymore. I could see him just like, he's a good boy, and he's trained, and he wants to ride, but I could see him just not moving as freely as I was used to seeing him the year before. So I switched him to Walter's saddle. Okay, neither one of these saddles fit Walter. Walter is not a tall donkey. He's like 13.3, but he's wide built like a mammoth. He's got very thick bone structure. So neither of these saddles fit him. the McClellan just barely like sets at the top of his back, and it would slide like crazy if I put it on him. But this saddle, which is a Colombian saddle, fits him really well. And rather than me try to butcher the name of this saddle, I'm going to put it right here. And I'll also put a link to the saddle maker in the description. I've talked with this saddle maker. His saddles run anywhere from like $500 to $900, certainly affordable. And he was really helpful when I was talking to him. And I definitely do want to have him make Jasper a special saddle. Because even though this fits Jasper pretty well, I feel like Jasper, now that Jasper has spread out and grown, although he's still not as wide as Traveler or certainly Walter, this saddle's still a little big on him. I would like to see have him something custom made. Now, I want to say a word about the people who are selling saddles who say their saddles fit all donkeys. I have bought saddles where people have told me they fit all donkeys. That saddle fit one donkey out of the 5 riding donkeys I had on my farm at the time. So please do not believe that. If you look at donkeys' backs, you can clearly see they are very different. And there's no way one saddle is going to fit them all. Just like there's no one saddle that fits all horses. When my husband had a walking horse and I had a little quarter pony, they rode in wildly different sized saddles. And it is important for your donkey to be comfortable in their saddle, but it's also important that you can sit well in the saddle, because if you're constantly shifting and moving around, that's going to make your donkey kind of antsy and anxious, because you're not going to be comfortable. So you also have to take that into consideration. And so right there, I want to also say that this Colombian saddle is the most comfortable saddle I've ever set my ass in. And I love this saddle. We are actually going to get another one for Traveler, because now that Traveler's filled out, he can wear this saddle and he moves in it beautifully. When I got Jasper, he wasn't really malnourished or anything. He was just young. He was 4.5 years old. And through the years, because donkeys, they may stop growing height-wise at a certain age, but for several years after they stop growing height, I've noticed that they will put on muscle, body weight, especially if you're exercising them like I do mine. And you're continuously engaging them in things. Plus with age, they just kind of just seem to spread out a little bit. So Jasper, even though this saddle does still work for Jasper, I can tell that it's very close to not working. And so if Jasper gains weight, or if he puts on muscle in a certain way, you know, like up on his shoulders or anything, this is not going to fit him anymore. And for some reason, this seems to fit him okay, but I can tell he doesn't like it. It seems to fit. It's like I put it on him and it seems to fit, and I set it and it seems to fit. But for some reason, he doesn't like it. So here's where I say, listen to your donkey. If you put a saddle on your donkey and he's acting weird, when he was acting fine in another saddle, it doesn't matter what you think the fit is correctly. I mean, you probably need to listen to your donkey and ride him in the saddle that he prefers. Because I really think one of the secrets to why my donkeys enjoy riding and will stand at liberty to let me tack them up, and they wait at the tack room like they're doing right now because they think we're going to go riding, is because I do listen to them and I want them to be comfortable. And that's another reason also why I like having several saddles, because I can put different saddles on them and say, okay, how does this feel? Does it feel like this donkey's moving good? Is he moving freely? Does he seem stressed? Because you can feel that. And if you're around your donkey a lot, if you ride your donkey a lot, you can feel if they are more tense or not moving as smoothly in one saddle compared to another. There's another reason why I don't invest, you know, $2,000 in one saddle, because I know I need multiple saddles. And even if like this saddle is fitting Traveler really well one season, well, if he loses weight over the winter, where maybe he's not moving as much, we've not worked as much, and he loses weight a little, loses condition a little, he'll probably be back in this saddle. So it's good to have several different saddles. And I also want to say about buying a saddle. If you buy used saddles, you can always get your money out of them. I don't think I've ever lost money buying a used saddle and then having to resell it. Buying a brand new saddle, you're not going to make all that money back. But if you buy a used saddle, chances are you're going to make that back. And a lot of times when I've bought McClellans and reconditioned them myself, I've made more than I bought them for. I mean, yes, I put some work into it, but I ended up making, you know, a little bit of money for donkey minerals off of them. So that worked out good for me. So that's a little bit about saddles. That's a little bit about the saddles that my donkeys wear, the differences in them, and how their bodies can change. So you might want to be a little cautious, especially if you've got a donkey that's a little thin, that you think may put on weight, or that's young. You might want to consider, you know, price-wise, not investing in a super crazy expensive saddle. Unless maybe you have multiple donkeys that could wear that saddle. That's a little bit different. So anyway, I hope this like kind of gives you a little bit of guidance when you're looking for a saddle. I'm sorry that it's not this straightforward, buy this saddle, it's going to fit your donkey. But it's not impossible. And, you know, if you keep a watch on Marketplace, eBay, you can get some nice saddles to try. I have found that through the years, the Pasofino type saddles, the McClellan style saddles, not necessarily the vintage ones, but like some of the McClellan styles that are made for smaller horses can fit really well. The modern McClellan saddles that you see some people make that are on like the full quarter horse bars, those typically do not fit at all. At least they don't fit my donkeys, or any donkey I've ever had. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're looking for McClellans, because there are some saddle makers making new McClellans, but they're on full quarter horse bars, and that usually just does not work for donkeys. And I want to say a little bit about saddle pads. I do want to say that if you put a really thick saddle pad with a McClellan, your saddle's probably going to slide. This saddle was not made to ride with a really thick saddle pad. It just doesn't work. This saddle is tacked up a little bit differently. I have to rig it a little bit differently. I do have a video on rigging McClellans. There is a way to convert the McClellan from that center fire to using the back cinch as well. I mean, this is a great little saddle if you've got large standard donkeys. I can't say enough about it. I really like it. Anyway, I hope this video wasn't too long. I hope you got some information out of it, a little bit of guidance to take you on this journey for finding a saddle for your future riding donkey, or maybe you've already got a riding donkey and you're just not happy with your saddle. Hope you're doing something fun with your donkey today. Maybe you're taking a ride, maybe you're just taking a walk. If nothing else, just go out and give them a hug and tell them how amazing they are. So y'all have a good one, okay? You think we're going for a ride? Are you guys waiting to go for a ride? Let's see what we can do, guys.